put my second and final coat, I hope. Tractor Supply Truck and Implement paint on the first parts that I painted. I got a few things, markers that I failed to mask off. Thought I was being careful. So we'll see how, if I can buff the paint off of those. Now this is 1000 grit paper, which is a lot finer than what I need, but it's what I had. And the only purpose of this sanding is to take the gloss off of the paint, not to really remove the paint, so that the next layer will stick good. A couple little spots I noticed here and there that I didn't get covered, so who knows, maybe it will get a third coat. Feels, yeah, look at all this. Feels like a very rugged paint. I had to give up letting it cure for extra time in the icy cold Ohio garage. All that led to was the thing staying sticky forever. Put it in the house and it hardened right up. Yeah, I see enough missed spots on this. It might need a third coat. Besides, what does everybody look at first? They look at tail. So the tailstock here, it's got to be the best looking thing. Just a little quick update on what's going on in the lathe project. I still haven't quite figured out how to get the rack off. The YouTuber shared with me that it definitely did have dowel pins and not rivets in it. So that'll let me to move ahead with some sureness that I'm doing the right thing. I hope, my goal is after this weekend to have everything stripped and have some of my parts painted, but have everything stripped. Alright, I think I'm ready to do something interesting here. Something that I think is interesting. I've got a problem. This is my apron for the carriage, and this bolt here is held in with this. Is on this shaft, which this gear turns on. I'm pretty sure this is a steel shaft, but it doesn't have a very deep groove in it, so I can't. And it's hard to hold. And this is an awkward piece. It's hard to hold a screwdriver and turn this nut. These things, when I take a screwdriver to it, the whole assembly turns without a lot of force. You see, I can move that, but they seem to be locked together pretty good. So here's my solution. I have my 9/16 wrench kind of snuggled up in the vise here, so that I can use it to hold the nut, and I can use a tool here and be in good control of it and stay square in the slot. I'm probably going to grind this out deeper when I have it apart, assuming this part is in good enough condition to reuse, just in case I ever have to take it apart again. And I don't want to be slipping the tool out of it. I've already done just a little bit of slight damage there. So we're going to take a... Nope. So now I'm going to use the impact feature here. I can't turn it by hand. There we go. That turned it. Boy, it sure is hard for a screw to slip out when it's being driven in. A screwdriver to slip out when it's being driven in with a hammer. These tools are phenomenal. CIC, I think this is some Harbor Freight quality thing that I bought. But it's one of the tools you can get from them that's really worth owning. I think I see some wear on this gear. So I've almost got this tore down. This thing's so filthy. I spend most of my time washing my hands. I didn't want to wash it while there were still parts on it though. My next problem is removing this knob. It had a roll pin in it which I drove out. It was really very loose. But the knob doesn't seem to want to slip off the shaft. So, and I see some marks, some tool marks in the knob, in the shank of it here. So I don't know what's going on here, but I got to figure out how to get that off. And then I can clean up my apron. The thing's in good condition, except this hole is worn. I need to counterbore this and put a bushing in it. And I don't have a mill, so I may have to find some creative way to do that or get some help from someone that does have a mill. Now this shaft is a 1/2 inch. Here's a 1/2 inch wrench, and I'm getting purchase on the bottom edge of the knob all the way around because of the radius in the back of the wrench. I don't have a lot of grip on it in the vise, but I'm going to give this a try. This is cast iron, by the way. I do have to be a little careful with it. Nope. That's not going to work either. Do a little studying online and see if there's a procedure. Make sure there's not a thread or something in here. Got to be careful not to drop this part because of this fragile gear here. I finally figured out how to move this knob. Remember, I've got this wrench, and I can pry down against this and pry up against the back edge of this. I'm probably going to replace or make a new knob. Lathe, heal thyself. I'm liable to not buy this, but to make another one of these after I get the lathe back together and running. But you can see I can use, oops, I've really got to put some tools away. I can pry against a rod here, and I'm able to push the thing up. So I need something else a little thicker. There we go. There we go. Got it off. Couldn't find any help online for this. But I just thought about it. I did find a picture of one for sale on eBay that kind of showed the inside of the knob a little bit. And it didn't appear as though there were any threads in there. Not that I really expected any, but I hate to go prying on something that's not made to slip apart. So I'm surprised it was pressed together so tight. I don't know if it was made a little undersized or if at some time or another it's had some damage. The chrome doesn't look so nice on here. Feels heavy enough that it's probably steel. I like the feel of it. I think I would make a knob just like that, but probably make it out of aluminum. All you're doing is pushing and pulling on a ball, a shaft with a detent ball in it. So we'll go ahead and take this apart. I'm going to hold my finger over this hole. This hole is drilled down deeper than the shaft, and there's a spring and a steel ball on top, and that ball catches in these grooves and gives us two distinct positions for the gear. And this is the gear for the cross feed, the power cross feed. So I'm going to cover all these holes. I don't want the ball to get away. Didn't shoot out, but right there it is. Just dropped out. Now if I get that spring out of there, let me get my pick. An ice pick is a super handy tool. Every toolbox should have one. Just about got it out. There we go. Recently brought dinner home from KFC. These wonderful little single serving trays is what I'm using to sort some of my parts. So these things all come from the apron, so I'm putting them all there together. They're uncleaned yet. But now I can clean this disgusting part. Boy, is it filthy. Here's the carriage itself. Still has the lead screw in it. There's a gear on that screw, which that gear we just removed would engage with. And I didn't have a tool big enough to fit this. I've seen other people's where they've actually taken that off with a pair of pliers, which is kind of nasty. I went and bought a larger wrench, a larger adjustable wrench to do this job. Oh, wow. Boy, that is tight. We'll use the plastic hammer again. I'm going to hold this wrench flush on the fastener. Make sure it's as tight as possible. Don't want it slipping off. It's in good condition now. It's a very short hex. And shock it with the plastic hammer. Awesome tool. I think it moved. Boy, doesn't appear as though it did. Let's see if I can hold this in the vise. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can put a board over here. Okay, let me rig this up in the vise.